Hi everyone, welcome to the health tip this week. So I have a great infographic that was made and we'll have it available to our patients in the office, and we're calling this the real food pyramid. Not the food pyramid that was paid for by the dairy companies or the one that was just made up by the lobbyists that said, here's the food we want you to push and that should be number one. So this is actually what we call it. We're calling this actually the Cellular Healing Diet Pyramid. This is specifically from Dr. Pompa, who coined that term. And he's one of my mentors as far as the detoxification and cellular healing in our body. And his statement is, in order to get well, you need to heal the cell. So this is a very specific way of eating to make sure that the cells in your body are getting the proper nutrition, and the membranes of the cells, which is the most important part. That's basically the brain that allows nutrition to come in and out of the cell. That's what needs to be healed properly to function properly for proper DNA expression, for proper function of all your cells and organs, etc. in your body. So just some of the obvious kind of changes here. So instead of having carbs and all that other stuff as the main thing in our current food pyramid, what do we have down here? Good fats, meat, fish and poultry, eggs, and non-starchy vegetables as the base of this thing. So we're always talking about, well, isn't fat bad for you? Well, as you've seen in all my other videos, of course it's not bad for you, but it can be if you're eating the wrong kind of fat. But here we're specifically talking about good fats, which are coconut oil, olive oil, avocado oil, medium-chain triglycerides, grass-fed butter, meat, poultry, fish, and eggs. Once again, we're talking about wild-caught salmon. We're talking about grass-fed cows. There's a saying that says, we eat what they ate. So if a cow, everyone says, well, isn't meat just meat? And I says, well, no, it's not. If you take a cow that's been fed artificially grown things like genetically modified grains and soy products, trying to fatten them up and make them bigger than they are, and just the cow eating that diet will actually make the cow sicker, and it won't have the proper diet, and so it's like force feeding it something that it's not supposed to be eating really for its nutrition. So when you eat the meat of that cow, you're getting that effect. But if you have a cow that eats grass, nice green grass that's got a lot of chlorophyll and energy from the sun and all that stuff, and that cow takes that vitamin K from there and it converts it and makes it into vitamin K2, which is good for us, and these kind of things, that meat is very different than the other meat. So when you get a study that comes out and says, well, meat causes cancer or something like that, well, what kind of meat are they talking about, right? There's probably hasn't been any studies comparing the difference. Maybe there isn't. Maybe they won't find a difference, but just intellectually, you kind of know that this is probably going to have more value and more nutrition for you than that will, and it'll much be more as a healthier option. So some of the other things too, there's a lot of things we'll look at. You can get this in the office. We'll have it available for you. For the fermented foods, that's going to be obviously that's just the next step up on the ladder. Very important. We don't need loads of it, but a certain amount, periodically or regularly in a diet was good. And that's sort of the new wave, is understanding how important the bacteria on the inside of our intestinal tract is, from your mouth all the way down to the bottom. That bacterial environment is massively important. That provides so much nutrition for our body that it's kind of boggles the mind how much they do for us. And so we're kind of realizing now in the next 10 or 12 years, you'll be hearing a lot more about this. We call it the microbiome, or the inner ecosystem, because there's billions and billions of all these bacteria and bacteriophages, they call them, and viruses and parasites and all sorts of things that are good and bad and whatever, but there's a good balance. But we've been sort of just hammering that over the last 20 years or so with the increased incidence of cesarean sections, so coming out through the belly as well, as opposed to coming out through the vaginal canal, where the baby will get bathed in all the proper probiotics for it to colonize its intestinal system, for it to be healthier. The overuse of antibiotics, other things that destroy that internal microbiome would be things like non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, most medications in general, alcohol, refined carbohydrates, processed foods, artificial sweeteners are a big one, and genetically modified foods, and glyphosate that they spray on the crops, all that kind of stuff. So all of those things have a really bad negative impact on this microbiome. But we're finding that if we're eating more fermented foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, other things like that, sort of those kind of kefir as well, those foods are providing the good bacteria back into our system to help us recolonize and hopefully restore a little bit of balance, a good balance for them to be healthy for us. So there's a number of other things that are kind of interesting and stuff like that. So beverages and the 3 exchanges that are the easy kind of switches to do, which would be good. You know, the 3 quick switches that everyone could pretty much do and wouldn't cause a lot of disruption in their life and those kind of things. And then he was also gracious enough to actually make what we call like a menu plan. So we actually have like a week's worth of kind of eating the cellular healing diet with some examples of what foods might be for lunch and dinner and breakfast if you're going to eat that. Or if you're going to intermittent fast, you don't have to worry about breakfast, which is kind of an interesting thing to do. But that's kind of there. And so that's very helpful too. So this will be available for us, for my patients in the office. And if you're somewhere else in the world and you're looking to get this, you will go to drpompa.com. And somewhere on the site, you'll be able to see the thing for the infographic for the Cellular Healing Diet Pyramid. So hopefully that tip was helpful for you, and please share it, and we'll see you next week.